Now here's the thing, I am a watchmaker and I spend a lot of time working on Rolex watches, so it's fair to say that I have a pretty good understanding of what's inside this really pretty watch by Rolex. Now when Rolex market this watch, you know, they include a lot of imagery on things adventurous. It is called the Explorer. You know, we've got mountains and huskies and snow and guys climbing Everest and K2. It is quite exhausting. Now, I am not only a watchmaker, but I am Arctic warfare trained. So check that combination out. So I figure I am probably the guy to review this watch, which is what I'm going to do right now. So, popping down here now on the right hand side, you can see what I'm actually going to be covering in this video, and the topics there, I'm going to spend about 5 minutes on each of those topics and then I'll summarize at the end. So beginning then with a look at the exterior of this watch, and you know, it's actually not helpful, I don't think, that the time now has set over the Cyclops, so let me just sort that out right away. Okay, and move that there, so you get a proper look at the outside of the watch there. Now, you know, this piece it's quite a big piece. It's 42 millimeters across, and it doesn't look quite like anything in the Rolex lineup, with the possible exception of its predecessor, and you know, I think that makes it quite an important piece. Clearly it does look like the version with the black dial, but I think this one with the white dial, the Polar, is particularly striking. So having grabbed a bit of twig off the beach here in classic Explorer style, let me just go through what we've got here now. And coming in a little bit closer then here, around the outside you can see this fixed bezel with the black numerals on, which denote every 2 hours in the 24-hour cycle here. So this orange hand is rated to turn round once every 24 hours, unlike of course the hour hand, which goes at twice that speed around the dial. Now the the odd hours are marked by these little markers here, so this is 5 and this is 7 evidently, and to read this dial here we can see that the time is between 1400 and 1500, and you can see it's almost halfway between, but to get the exact time we would come to the hour hand. So the time indicated by the orange hand is 14:27 and a half, or just coming up to 14:28 at the moment. Now I'm going to talk more about the GMT function in a moment, but that's basically what those hands are doing. We've got the Cyclops here with the date, that's all nicely aligned and crisp. We've got the sweep hand here with the big confident luminescent marker here. We've got the hour indices in that classic kind of Submariner style. We have got quite a narrow crown with the 2 guards on the case here, and it almost doesn't have any profile sticking up above those guards, because of course this watch is for an adventurer. We expect it to take a bit of punishment, and this crown is attached to the stem, which goes right inside the movement. You do not want to be clobbering and putting a lot of tension on the stem. You shouldn't do it if it's screwed down, but nevertheless these guards are in place to try and prevent that going on. We have, it's all stainless steel. We have a stainless steel bracelet. We've got the classic plain Rolex back there, if I just get that in focus, which is really nice. This particular watch has seen a little bit of action. We've got a little bit of scrapes and scuffs on it, but you know, when you got that with a Rolex, in my view, as long as it's not too bad, they just tend to look a bit better. It's because this is a sort of adventurous, chunky little watch. So let's take a little look at the bracelet. Now we've got this deploying clasp here when it can get in focus. Let's try and focus that. Okay, so there we are. So this is a nice experience to open and close. It's not the cleanest watch in the world. I've just received it in from a client, and as the wind picks up a little bit here, and apologies for the wind noise if there is some over this, but this is an adventurous watch that's going to be used at the top of a howling wind on Everest. So guys, you should stick with this. Yeah, the bracelet is, you know, like all of these Rolex stainless steel bracelets, it is really well made. And you know, this thing, and also when you take it off on the back, the spring bars are the best spring bars, and the way in which they fit in there is, you know, there is no slip or slippage there at all. It is very finely engineered. It is a beautiful thing. So that is a quick canter around the outside of this watch. So let's go back to the watch bench now and have a little look inside the watch. And here we are then back at the watch bench, and I've popped the back off this Rolex Explorer II to reveal the Rolex 3187 movement. And you know, doesn't that look absolutely gorgeous? So I'm just going to spend about 5 minutes pointing out some of the, you know, really important things about this movement. Now, from this side, the movement actually looks, you know, very similar to the 3135, because, you know, most of the design of this movement is, from this side at least, is very similar. Let me just actually come in a little bit closer on this, just see if I can zoom in a little bit and just realign this. Bear with, as they say. Okay, that's a little bit better. We're getting in a little bit closer now. We can see what's going on. So, as I say, this is the rotor arm. We've got the two reversing wheels here, all nicely jeweled. In this little gap here, you can just see, when you look down it, the balance hack. And that is attached to the setting lever. And it's a really good design. I go through it on my 3135 video, but there is no way that that is not going to work. Now, all the GMT functionality is really on the other side of the movement. And, you know, Rolex in this movement will have to have provisioned a fourth hand, and that is a little orange hand that is going round, and they will have had to have worked out, you know, the gearing ratios for that, so it turns once in every 24 hours. And also then with the keyless works, there's a mechanism. I'm going to show you this in the operation of the watch in a minute. There's a mechanism by which we can change where that GMT hand, the orange hand, is pointing on the dial, and that will be via a modification to the keyless works. But actually, you know, in horology terms, all of that is pretty straightforward, and we've been doing stuff like that since, you know, about 1698. Watchmakers have been putting in extra hands and moon phases and stuff like that. What I actually want to concentrate on this movement, because it shows Rolex's huge determination to create fine timepieces is the balance, okay, and particularly on this I am gonna get up close now onto the hairspring. So we're just going to spend a couple of minutes talking about that now. So Rolex had to literally go in the lab for years and years to come out with an alloy of these three elements: niobium, zirconium and oxygen, and that alloy addresses two of the things that can affect a balance, and one is magnetism, as I say, and the other is temperature. So this hairspring here that you see is the result of, and as you notice there, it's got a nice Breguet overcoil as well, and that's just that terminal coil that you can see coming into the where it terminates. Let me just pop this out, show you here, just coming very carefully here, and this is where the hairspring terminates, and you can see this terminal coil at the end which comes in over the top. That's called a Breguet overcoil, and that also helps the performance of the balance. So Rolex spent years and years developing the alloy for this hairspring, and it is a free sprung balance. If you want to know more about that, then look at my video on the Rolex 2135 where I do a regulation of a free sprung balance. But guys, I guess the point I'm making here is that Rolex have pulled out all the stops to create this parachrome hairspring now, and this of course is in a watch which is one of the less expensive Rolex watches. This sort of new is retailing at about £6,000. So you're getting some serious amount of research and development and technology and fine watchmaking in here for that price. So let's take the watch back outside and show you how it operates. And as you would expect from this watch, which has the GMT complication, the keyless works are absolutely vital for controlling that extra functionality that we've got. So because the 3187 movement, which you've seen already, has to handle the GMT function as well as everything else, and in this Rolex it does it in a particularly elegant way, and I'm going to show you that now. So I've just unscrewed the crown, so the crown is now in its first position out, and when it is in that position we can put power on the watch. So I'm giving it a little wind there, and so the stem is turning round, and attached to the stem there are two components there. One is called a clutch and one is called a winding pinion, and they are turning away there nicely and putting power onto the watch. So if I then pull out the crown to its second position out, then what I can do is I can change the local time by an hour at a time. Now that is in itself really useful for anyone that goes on holiday or on business or travels across the world by aeroplane. You fly from London to Rome and you're 1 hour ahead. All you got to do is you're 1 hour ahead. All you got to do is turn the hour hand 1 hour there, and everything else is kept in time. You don't actually have to stop the watch, and you have got good accurate time there. So that is good, and the wind is picking up here, and so if you've got some wind noise, let's just try and stick with this, because this is an adventurous watch. And what we're going to do now is pull it out to its second position, and on its third position, and on the third position we can change the time in the normal way. But if you notice, the GMT hands keeps in sync with everything. So what I'm going to do now is give you a scenario. Say for example we wanted to track the time in Los Angeles. Now I know, for example, that the time in Los Angeles is generally 8 hours behind where we are here in UK. So what I would do is firstly put everything to midnight, okay, and you saw it change there to 7. Okay, so let's go on there, so we know we're at midnight. The 6 changed to 7, and then what I'm going to do is push it back in, pull it out slightly there and just put the hour hand back to midnight. So that kind of puts us at a place where we know where we are. We are at midnight. So you would do that. And then what I would do is pull the watch out to its second position so that I can change the hour hand. Let's just try and get that there like that. Okay, and I would do that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we are generally 8 hours in front. So you know, if that was 8 o'clock in the morning in UK, you would see that it is reading midnight in Los Angeles, which would be accurate. So what I'll then do is pull it all the way out and set the local time and just refer to my watch here, and the local time is coming up to 6:45 in the evening. So I am now just going to turn this to 6:45 in the evening. We're on the same date, as you can see, and just come up to, oh, just gone past it. There we are, 6:45 in the evening, and you can see that the time in Los Angeles is going to be 11:15. Let me just see if I can point that out with something. I've lost my little twig now. Hang on, I've got it again, or I've got another one. So, oh, there we go. So, yeah, you can see if I just get the light there that this says it's coming up to 11 o'clock. And then we go to this hand here, and that says that therefore it is 11:15, and then we could just lock that down. Okay, so that is one way in which you can use the GMT function. Okay, so before I sum up on what I think of this Rolex Explorer II, the 216570 reference that you can see there on the bench next to a really lovely little Russian movement that I've got ticking away there. More on that in a future video. So focusing back on the Rolex, let's do the loom shot. So after 3, I'm going to turn off the light and we're going to see just how good the loom is on this Rolex. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, and you know, I'm looking at both the loom on the camera and the loom on the watch. Two things. The camera loom looks a bit greener, and I think there's something going on because these cameras these days are really clever in terms of sorting out the exposure in low light. I think it's a little bit crisper and brighter on the camera than it is on the actual watch, and it's certainly greener. But you know, the loom, you know, this Rolex loom is pretty good. So let's turn the light back on and let the camera sort itself out here, and let us give a summary of now what we think of this watch. Okay, so we had a really good look around this watch, and we started with the exterior of the watch and the look and the case and the bracelet, and you know, the watch in my view just looks great. It's really distinctive. I really like the orange GMT hand. If I was to be really nicky picky, I would quite like the stem of that hand before we get to the arrow bit on the end. So this, just point out this now, this bit, oh, and the camera's exposure's gone funny, but this bit right here, right, I'd quite like that to be painted white, and just have the end of the GMT hand orange, so that, you know, when your brain looks at it quickly in low light, you don't confuse the hour and minute hand with the GMT hand. It's just a small point, tiny little point really, because you know, it is orange, right? And I like, do you know, I even like the orange writing on the dial there. But you know, this is a distinctive watch. It's a big, confident watch. It's in stainless steel, and it just looks great. You know, this case is extremely rugged. The sapphire crystal is extremely rugged. this is a watch that, I would have, I don't know, given my right hand, or not quite that, but I would have dreamt of when I was a soldier back in the day. And particularly because we used to do everything using a thing called Zulu time, which was actually Greenwich Mean Time. Because if you're involved in an operation which has people contributing to the outcome of that operation, and it's taking place in numbers of different time zones, the scope for a cock-up, for want of a better expression, is pretty large. So to make sure everyone's working on the same time, quite often things are written out in local, but very often in a thing called Zulu time, which was, as I say, Greenwich Mean Time. And with this watch, of course, you can track what the Zulu time is by using the GMT function as just that, by tracking the GMT time all time. So you've got your local time and your GMT time. So from a kind of adventuring and military perspective, your average soldier doesn't tend to earn a lot of money, and I certainly didn't when I was in the army. So this sort of watch was something that I guess you could dream of, but it's a rough, tough watch. This is going to take some knocks. It looks great. Do you know, it's also really, really versatile, because you can kind of wear this watch in a nice sports jacket. You can wear this watch with a suit, with a nice grey suit and, white shirt and tie. It is a really, really good looking watch. So let's turn very quickly then to the movement. Now, as I mentioned, the amount of research and development that has gone in to this movement, particularly the parachrome hairspring, but also the Paraflex, in which I didn't even cover, the Paraflex shock absorption. Rolex have been focused here on solving some really kind of big issues with the accuracy of their timepieces, and those are magnetism, temperature and shock. And with the 3187 movement, they have really done well with that. And as a watchmaker, this is just a gorgeous movement to work on. The GMT function via the motion works and keyless works, that operates really, really well, and I think is intuitive to use. So what can I say about this watch? I really, really love this watch by Rolex. You guys will know that I'm a little bit of a Rolex fanboy, but I've got a reason to be. I love working on these watches. I love the resilience of the watches. I love the business-like design. And in summary, this watch does what it says on the tin. Now, it is £6,000 or thereabouts. And I don't know what that is in dollars, but $6,500, something like that, which is an awful lot of money. But this watch, in my humble opinion, is worth every penny or dime of that money. You get the whole Rolex thing with this watch, and you get it in a very kind of different and unique and robust way. So that's it. That's what I think of this fantastic watch by Rolex, and I almost can't fault it. Guys, if you like my videos, then please subscribe, hit the bell icon there so that you are alerted every time I upload a new video, and there are plenty in the plan. So there's a lot of good stuff coming your way soon. But from the watch bench here in Pembroke Dock, that's all I've got for you guys on this video. So I wish you good night and or good day or good morning, wherever you're watching this in the world, and be safe out there, guys, and God bless. Cheerio for now.